The eternal symbol of an Indian tradition that has survived the ages and traveled the world. And so, when I went in search of custom-made household goods, I decided to focus on the synthesis of East and West and on the global power of Indian craftsmanship. I would locate the finest fabrics. I would have great furniture made to my specifications. I would find bright young lighting designers and have them create lamps that use traditional motifs. And I would be blinded and dazzled by the jewels that India is famous for. All this in many shades of paisley. My Paisley adventure began in true East meets West style. I went to the Delhi studio of Peter Dascoli, a textile designer from New York who now lives here, updating Indian fabrics and Indian designs for the global market. Much of Peter's production is exported to high-end stores in the West. But Peter had indicated that if I turned up at his door, he would join me in my Great Paisley Adventure and custom make some fabrics. Let me start by telling you what I'm looking for.
Yes.
I'm looking for a bespoke, for want of a better term, fabric that we can use for various purposes. For the purposes of the show, I thought something that you can use for a dinner table, maybe mats, napkins, a runner, but that's the excuse. The idea is the fabric. That's the point of the exercise.
Yes.
And I've had many ideas about fabric, entirely and purely from a layman's term, because it's not really my area. And I wanted a motif that took East and West, that was traditional and modern, and united them.
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Well, immediately something springs to mind, which could be interesting. As you might know, for hundreds of years, India has been producing really the most beautiful fabrics in the world.
Right.
And for a long time, Europe was chasing and trying to copy Indian textiles. When you talk about East and West, if we look at paisleys or Kashmiri shawls.
We know paisley as this English motif. It's often described as this very English motif.
Yes.
And yet we know it as the mango, for want of a better term, on our jamevar shawls. So where does the motif come from? Is it theirs? Is it ours? Why is it called paisley?
The paisley is a motif that is very ancient.
And as Peter explained the technical details of the fabric he had in mind, I listened closely. He'd cleared up some mysteries for me. First of all, paisley isn't really Indian. All the evidence suggests that it originated somewhere in the Middle East. On the other hand, when it comes to the global popularity of paisley, that's something India can take credit for. It was here that Europeans first saw paisley. They took it to France, where it became part of the fabric we still call jacquard. And it was the Brits who loved India's motifs so much that they took the pattern to Scotland and renamed it paisley. The more we discussed my order, the more excited Peter got.
It all evolves and comes from Persia and from Kashmir.
So that's perfect, and that's exactly the motif I want. I want it to look slightly jazzier than normal, slightly more contemporary, so maybe we can play around with the colors.
Yes.
And obviously we're not going to hire a squadron of weavers to weave it for us.
Yes.
Is there a technology that allows us to get the print easily?
I think that we can do something very nicely. I have been wanting to develop a collection, which I've sort of been dreaming about calling Electric Valley.
Why Electric Valley?
Just because I've been thinking it would be nice to take classic designs and update them through color. So we might give the color some strength, some
electricity.
And for base fabrics, you said you wanted for tabletop.
That's right.
We could do, because I always love this idea of mixing patterns. You can mix layouts, as I said, stripe, all over vine. You can also play with the color. Once once we establish the color palette, we know now we're going to go with some strong, bright colors. We'll always want to keep it very tasteful. Then for the napkins, I have a wonderful fabric. It's hand woven in Andhra Pradesh. And maybe we'll even add some a touch of hand embroidery on the napkins.
That'll be really luxurious.
Yes.
And how long is this going to take?
If everything goes well, I would say...
always an insurance policy in that statement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we're going to rush this through for you, for your dinner. We'll have something in 3 to 4 weeks.
That's it? That's not bad.
Yes.
Well, Peter went off to work on my fabric. I went in search of more destinations and more products. Fortunately, there's now a new breed of young lighting designers in India who are creating fixtures that combine light with art. And so I thought to myself, why don't I go out and get one of them to make me a light? And I'll figure out a way to include the Paisley motif. It was interesting to see what they would do. Tell me a bit about yourself. What kind of stuff do you do normally?
You know, we started Clove about 7 years back, and when we started, we were experimenting a lot with forms, designs, and glass became something that we became very fond of. We did a lot of work with metal, we did a lot of work with glass and other materials. And as we went along, we started seeing that glass really responds very well to light, and we kind of specializing in doing lighting.
Okay, so here's my brief. I want something that's not hanging from the ceiling. I want something that comes from the floor up. But I don't want a standing lamp. I want something that's like a talking point, that's almost like a work of art. I saw some things in your catalog, but do you have any ideas?
Yes, I'll show you something that I think matches your brief.
Okay.
Here's a lamp which...
yeah. It's called an Ashoka floor lamp.
Yes, the reason it's called Ashoka floor lamp is because the fretwork is done like a Ashoka tree.
Where would you put it ideally? Somewhere in a living room or somewhere where people could see it?
Like a corner lamp in a living room, but the great part about it is that when you turn it on, the light comes through the fret, the jali pattern, and
okay.
It casts shadows all across the room which are very dramatic, hence the drama.
I just have a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, but given that you're customizing it, see the thing you've got at the bottom.
Yes.
Our theme throughout the show has been the mango or the Paisley mango, the Paisley pattern. Can you do the bottom thing as a sort of Paisley pattern?
The slide has these 3 balls at the bottom.
That's right.
And then we close it with a brass tip. I was in my. It's just a suggestion. Maybe we can interpret the balls in a form that flows like a paisley. So it'd be a different take at a paisley or.
So the bottom things, these would be a paisley. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Perfect. Now we go with the same lamp, but we do paisley at the bottom rather than these balls. How long will it take?
3 to 4 weeks.
That's it?
Yes.
Great. And how much will this set me back?
It'll set you back by a lakh.
A lakh? Let me see it again. What in this costs a lakh, yeah?
The customization, the design element, and the fact that it's going to be exclusively made for one.
And you'll never make it again? Can I get a guarantee that if you do it for me, it's going to be only for me? I'll be the only person in the world to have this lamp.
That's a guarantee.
Okay, that's a deal. I'll see you in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
One of Clove Design's proud boasts was that they would make my lamp from scratch. They would combine Indian craftsmanship with state-of-the-art Western technology.